The girl with the hidden facade small town of Willow Bend was the kind of place where secrets didn't stay secret for long. But one secret had lasted longer than most, hidden behind curtains, under hats, and behind long sleeves. Her name was Emily, and most people only knew her as the girl who never looked anyone in the eye. Every morning, she walked quietly to the library, her head down, hoodie pulled tight over her head. The children would whisper when she passed. The adults looked away, unsure if they should greet her or leave her be. No one really knew what had happened to her. All they knew was that her face, once beautiful, was now scarred, badly and ever. Since the accident, she had stopped talking to anyone except Mrs. Holland. The librarian, Mrs. Holland, never asked questions. She only smiled when Emily arrived, handed her a book, and said softly, "You're safe here." In that quiet corner of the world, surrounded by stories, Emily felt less like a ghost. But outside the library walls, the world was not so kind. Some teenagers at the high school had made it a game guessing what had caused her scars. Fire? Acid? Wild animal? One even said she must have been cursed. It became a joke. They didn't know how deeply their words cut her. It's deeper than the scars on her face. Every night, Emily stood in front of the bathroom mirror and tried to imagine her old face, the one from before the fire, before the hospital, before her father left because he couldn't bear to look at her. Her mother tried her best, but the pain hung in every room like smoke. The silence between them grew louder with every passing day then. One Thursday afternoon, everything changed. Keanu Reeves walked into the Willow Bend library. He wasn't filming. He wasn't doing press. He wasn't even supposed to be in town. He had come for quiet. To escape cameras and crowds, he wanted silence, books, and peace. Someone had told him about the library tucked away in a sleepy corner of town. He came alone. No bodyguard, no assistant. Just Keanu and his soft steps echoing between the shelves. Mrs. Holland recognized him right away, but didn't make a fuss. She only smiled and nodded. "Fiction section is down the middle aisle," she said. He smiled back. "Thank you." Odd was the first time Emily saw him. He didn't notice her. How could he? She was a shadow in the back, her hoodie pulled low, fingers tracing the spine of an old poetry book. But over the next few days, he came back, again and again, and he noticed not the scars, not the silence. He noticed how she read, how she'd sit for hours and get lost in pages. He noticed how careful she was with every book, like each one was something sacred. He noticed how no one else sat near her, how the kids pointed from a distance, and it made his heart ache. On the fourth visit, he approached her table. She froze. He smiled. "Do you mind if I sit here?" She looked away, mumbled something. He didn't move. "I promise I won't talk much," he said softly. I like the quiet too." She slowly nodded. They sat in silence for nearly an hour. He read a novel. She pretended to read hers but kept sneaking glances. He didn't ask her name, didn't stare, didn't flinch. The next day he came again. And the day after that, by the sixth visit, he spoke again. "You read a lot of poetry?" he said. She nodded. "May I ask why?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Because poems don't stare." His face softened. "That's a beautiful answer." And for the first time in a long time, she looked up. Just for a second. And he didn't look away, didn't wince, didn't pretend not to notice the scars. He just smiled, and that smile stayed with her long after he left. By the end of the week, she said more than 2 words. He listened, really listened, and she began to tell him about the fire. The night she fell asleep with a candle burning, how she barely made it out, how her father left after seeing her in the hospital, how she stopped looking in mirrors, stopped believing in kindness. He didn't say sorry. He didn't offer empty words. He just said, "Thank you for trusting me," she cried, but not out of pain, out of relief. For the first time, someone had seen her. Not the scars, not the hoodie, not the silence. Her rumors started to spread. People saw them walking out of the library together. Saw him holding the door for her, smiling, listening. The same teenagers who used to laugh now stared in confusion. How could someone like him talk to someone like her? They didn't get it, and they never had. But Keanu did, because beauty, he once said in an interview, was never about the face. It was about the story behind it, the courage it takes to live after pain, the strength it takes to love yourself when the world tells you not to. And Emily, she was the most beautiful soul he'd ever met. That was just the beginning. What came next would change everything for both of them. Forever. Whispers and wildfire next week felt different in Willow Bend. The town had never been busy, but now people found more reasons to be near the library. Some came pretending to browse, but most came to see him. Keanu Reeves had become a strange kind of legend overnight. People whispered his name at grocery stores, in school corridors, and over coffee cups, but Emily felt the change most of all. Suddenly, people noticed her. Not because of her scars, but because of him. The girl no one used to speak to now found herself surrounded by curious eyes and judgmental glances. Why is he talking to her? Must be some charity thing? Maybe he feels sorry for her? Those words burned more than the fire ever had. Emily had finally started to breathe again. She had begun to believe that maybe, just maybe, she could step out of the shadows. But now, the world pulled her right back in. She didn't tell Keanu about the whispers. Not at first. But he noticed on the third day of that week, she didn't show up at the library. The empty chair across from him made his heart heavy. On the fourth day, she was missing again. On the fifth, he found her sitting alone in the town's overgrown park, hoodie up, arms wrapped around her knees. "Hey," said softly, not startling her. "Missed you at the library." She didn't. "Look at him. I shouldn't have let people see us," she whispered, his brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" She shook her head. "They're saying things. Calling me names. Asking why someone like you would talk to someone like me." His silence was gentle, not empty. Then he sat down beside her on the cold bench. "And what do you think?" he asked. Her voice cracked. "I think maybe they're right. I don't belong in your world." He turned to her slowly. "Emily, do you think kindness belongs to a world, or to a face, or a name?" She blinked. "I don't know. It doesn't," he said. "It belongs to whoever gives it. And you've given me more peace in the last week than 1,000 fans screaming my name ever could." Her eyes filled again. "But I'm not like them. You're better," he said without hesitation. "You've survived something most people couldn't. You carry pain and still choose to be kind. That makes you stronger than anyone who's mocking you." She turned away, unable to believe it. But the words planted seeds inside her heart. The next morning, Mrs. Holland put a small folded note on Emily's favorite table at the library. It was from Keanu. "Meet me at the old art gallery after closing. I have something to show you." Emily hesitated. Her mother was cautious, but Emily had already decided. For the first time in years, she wanted to feel brave. That night, she walked quietly through the back alley behind the library. The old gallery hadn't been used in years. Dust covered the windows. But the door was cracked open, and soft light glowed inside. She stepped in and gasped. Hundreds of photos hung on the walls. Not of her, not of him, but of faces. Real ones. Old, wrinkled, freckled, lined, worn, scarred. Next to each photo was a quote, handwritten, powerful. "My face tells the story of every time I got back up. Beauty isn't about perfection. It's about honesty. This scar, that's the day I saved my brother." Emily turned in awe. Keanu stepped forward from the shadows. "I travel a lot," he said. "I meet people, real people, and they tell me their stories. I take their pictures and write down what they say.
Eyes.
This gallery, it's a collection of courage." He paused, then added, "I wanted to show you you're not alone. The world has many faces, and yours tells a story that needs to be heard." Emily walked the room slowly, reading each quote, staring into each weathered face. By the time she reached the end, her hands were trembling. She turned to him, tears in her eyes. "You think I belong here?" "No," he said gently. "I think you belong out there. But this place, this is where your story begins." That night, for the first time in years. She pulled down her ooh just for a second, just for him, and he didn't look. Away, he smiled, and that smile was everything. But not everyone in Willow Bend was ready. To understand 2 days later, the whispers turned to anger. Mrs. Reynolds, who ran the bakery, started a petition. "We don't need Hollywood people teaching our kids that scars are normal," she said to the town paper. "He's putting ideas in their heads," another added. "He's trying to make her a symbol." Someone else muttered. It grew fast, like wildfire, and suddenly, the gallery that was filled with hope was now marked with graffiti. "Freak Show" was painted across one window. Emily found it the next morning and froze in the cold air, but Keanu was already there, paintbrush in hand. He covered it with black dot, then wrote in white paint, "Kindness is not weakness. Scars are not shame." He handed her the brush. She stared at it for a long time. Then, slowly, she wrote beneath his words, "My face is not your story to tell." They stood together in silence, and something shifted. In the days to come, something surprising began to happen. First, an old veteran came by and left a note on the gallery door. "Thank you for reminding me I'm not broken." Then a young girl left a drawing. Her arm had a burn scar, too. Then a mother came, tears in her eyes. Her child had a birthmark that made her the target of cruel jokes. Now she wanted to bring her to the gallery. The hatred didn't stop completely, but the love grew louder in Emily. She started to believe again, not just in herself, but in the world, even the cruel parts, because now she had a voice, and she was learning how to use it. Louder than the Scarsby. The third week, the town was no longer silent. People argued at coffee shops. Teachers whispered behind closed doors. Teenagers, who once pointed fingers, now debated online. The photos of Emily and Keanu in front of the gallery had gone viral. Someone posted them on a fan page. It exploded. Some comments were cruel, others were kind, but all were loud. Keanu's face was familiar, but now people were asking about her. Who was the girl beside him? What happened to her? Why was she hiding behind a hoodie? And slowly, painfully, her story began to surface. Someone remembered the fire. Another remembered the hospital. And a few remembered the night the ambulance. Lights lit up the town like a second sunrise. And while most had moved on, Emily had carried the memory in her skin. She never wanted to be famous, but now she couldn't hide. The library wasn't quiet anymore. Reporters stood outside. Students with phones tried to catch a glimpse of her. Her mother started locking the doors at night. Emily stayed inside more. Keanu noticed. One night, he came to the house with a backpack full of books, movies, and snacks. "If the world won't be kind," he said gently, "then we'll build a little world of our own for now." They sat on the living room floor, watching old black and white films. He told her stories from sets and about actors who had once felt invisible. He didn't name-drop. He didn't brag, just shared. And Emily laughed, really laughed. It had been so long since she heard the sound of her own joy, but the calm didn't last. The next day, a local reporter ran a headline, "Keanu Reeves and the Scarred Girl, Real Love or Staged Pity?" It shattered everything. The gallery was vandalized again. Her mother cried behind closed doors. Emily locked herself in her room. Keanu came over that evening, but she didn't come out. He left a note at her door. "Your story is not a headline. Your worth is not up for debate. When you're ready, I'm still here." She stared at that note for hours, then slowly opened the door. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. His voice was soft. "Because someone once did it for me." She blinked. "What do you mean?" Looked away for a second, then back at her. "I've known loss, deep loss. I've felt invisible. You've been broken. People don't always see that. They just see the actor. But you remind me that healing is real." She stepped back, shaken. "But I'm not healed." He smiled gently. "You're healing. That's even braver." Later that week, the mayor of Willow Bend invited Keanu to a town unity event.
Ow.
They wanted to repair the gallery, paint over the graffiti, and raise money for the local hospital. Burn unit, Keanu agreed, but only under one condition. Emily speaks, he said. Or I don't show. The mayor hesitated. She's fragile. What if she breaks down? Keanu shook his head. She won't. And if she does, we hold her up. Emily didn't say yes right away. She didn't sleep that night. She paced. She cried. She stared into the mirror, her fingers tracing the uneven lines on her face. Each one a memory. Each one a fight. By morning, she looked at her mother and whispered, I'm ready. The event was held at the town square. Hundreds gathered. People from nearby towns came. Cameras rolled. News outlets watched. Keanu spoke first. He thanked the town, spoke about kindness, pain, and courage. But then he turned to Emily and stepped aside. A hush fell over the crowd. Emily walked slowly to the front. No HUD, no sleeves, just her scars and all. She held the mic tightly, voice shaking. I used to believe I was ruined, she said. Not just on the outside, but inside too. I thought the fire took everything. My face, my father, my confidence. She paused, swallowing hard. Then one person sat across from me. He didn't look away. He didn't flinch. I started to see what he saw. She looked around. People say scars are ugly, but they are just the places where we healed. I'm not ashamed of mine anymore. It's because they mean I survived. Someone clapped, then another, and suddenly the square erupted. She blinked in disbelief, and in the crowd, her mother cried. Not out of sadness, but pride. After the event, a woman approached Emily. She was in her 30s, had a scar on her hand. She held out a book and whispered, Will you sign this for my daughter? She's 12. She hides her birthmark with gloves. But you showed her something powerful today. Emily took the book. Her hands trembled, but she smiled. Tell her. She's not alone. Later, she and Keanu sat on the gallery steps, watching the sun dip below the rooftops. You were incredible, he said softly. I was terrified, she replied. You still are, he said, but you showed up anyway. That's real bravery. She leaned back, eyes on the sky. Do you think it ever stops hurting? He thought for a moment. Maybe not. But the pain becomes something else, like fuel. She nodded that night. As she lay in bed, she realized something strange. For the first time in years, she wasn't angry at the fire. It had taken so much from her, but it had also led her here, to him, to her voice, to this moment. And maybe, just maybe, that was worth something. The mirror and the mask a month had passed since Emily's speech at the town square. The gallery had been restored. The hateful words were gone, replaced by murals painted by local artists, faces with stories, faces with scars, faces that weren't perfect but real. Children started coming to the gallery with their parents. Schools brought students to visit. One teacher even turned it into a lesson on resilience and empathy. For the first time in her life, Emily felt seen, not for what happened to her, but for what she carried inside. But with visibility came pressure and fear. The outside world had begun to notice. A producer from a talk show reached out. Another from a streaming platform asked to make a documentary about her and Keanu. Offers started pouring in. Keanu kept them at bay as long as he could. You don't owe your pain to anyone, he told her. But what if someone out there needs to hear it? She asked. He looked at her, then nodded. Then tell it your way. They made a plan, small steps. Not a full documentary, just a short video. Quiet, quiet. Emily wrote every word. She filmed it sitting in the corner of the gallery. The same spot where she first read the quote, "Beauty is the courage to continue." She spoke softly, carefully. She didn't hide her face. And when the video went live, it spread like wildfire. Millions watched. Some cried. Some sent letters. Some shared their own photos, faces with burns. Cuts, surgeries, birthmarks, and a movement began. This is my face trended across the internet. People weren't hiding anymore. Keanu stayed beside her, never in the spotlight, always in the background, supporting. But not everyone celebrated. One night, while walking home from the gallery, Emily found a letter taped to the front door. No return address, no signature. It read, "You're not brave. You're just a circus act. Stop pretending scars make you special." Her hands trembled. For a moment, her breath caught in her throat. Old fear returned like smoke in her lungs. She clutched the paper and stumbled inside. Keanu found her sitting in the dark, tears on her cheeks. "They're right," she whispered. "I didn't do anything. I just got burned." He sat beside her, eyes steady. "You survived. And then you spoke. And now others are speaking too. Don't let one coward with a pen undo all of that." She looked at him. "But what if I can't keep going?" He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded photo. It was a picture of a little boy barefoot, sitting on a dusty road, smiling wide. "This is Alvin," Keanu said. "He's from a village I visited years ago. He was born with a facial condition. Never went to school because other kids ran from him. I showed him one of your videos last week." He handed Emily a second photo. Alvin was now holding a paintbrush. Standing in front of a wall, he had painted himself bright colors, messy shapes. And in the middle, a face with a scar and a smile. "He said he's not hiding anymore," Keanu said, "'cause you didn't." Emily broke down in his arms, not out of pain, but because hope had just proven louder than hate the next day. She shared the anonymous letter online with a message beneath it. "This is the voice that used to silence me. Not anymore." Her post went viral again. Celebrities, doctors, teachers, even survivors of war shared her words. The gallery in Willow Bend became more than a room. It became a symbol a few days later. Keanu received a letter, not a rude one, a formal one. It was an invitation to speak at an international summit about mental health and trauma recovery. They wanted both of them to attend. "We don't have to," he told her. She stared at the invitation, then folded it carefully. "We should," she said. "You sure?" She nodded. "It's time to take this further. I'm not just healing now. I want to help others heal too." They flew out together 2 weeks later on the plane. She watched the clouds through the window and whispered, "I used to dream of being invisible. Now, I'm not afraid to be seen." He smiled gently. "The world is lucky to see you." The summit was held in a grand hall, filled with professionals, leaders, and survivors. The moment Emily stepped onto the stage, a quiet hush fell over the room. She spoke about shame, about survival, about the night she thought she'd never be loved again. And then about the man who looked at her like she was Holyven when she didn't believe it herself. She never said Keanu's name, but everyone knew. When she finished, they rose to their feet, a standing ovation, not for her beauty, but for her truth. That night, after all the interviews and cameras faded, Emily sat with Keanu on the hotel rooftop. "Do you ever wonder why you found me?" she asked. He nodded. "All the time." "Why do you think you did?" He looked at her eyes calm. "'Cause I needed to remember that kindness still matters. And you live it." She leaned against his shoulder, and for the first time, the scars didn't feel heavy. They felt like wings. When the light turns cold, after the summit, Emily became more than a local story. Magazines asked to feature her. Organizations invited her to speak. Even fashion brand offered to partner with her to launch a campaign called More Than Skin. She turned most offers down. She didn't want fame. She didn't want to become a face for profit. All she wanted was to help people feel less alone. Still, she accepted a few quiet opportunities, especially the ones where she could visit burn recovery centers and talk to survivors face-to-face. Keanu was always there. Not to lead, just to walk beside her. But with the rising light came longer shadows. And one shadow had been watching for a long time. His name was Alex Brayton. And he ran a very popular social media show, one known for exposing what he called fake heroes. He prided himself on tearing down what others praised. And now, he had his eyes on Emily. He began posting clips of her speeches, edited to sound arrogant. He claimed she was using her scars for fame, that Keanu was playing the sympathy card for attention. He even found someone from Emily's high schooler girl who used to mock her. She now claimed Emily had always wanted attention and used the accident to manipulate people. Keanu told Emily not to watch it, but she did, and it broke her. "Maybe I shouldn't have said anything," she whispered, staring at the laptop screen. "Maybe I made it worse." Keanu sat across from her, calm but firm. "You didn't make anything worse. You gave people a reason to hope. But what if they turn on me?" she asked. "Then they were never really with you," he said gently, but she couldn't shake it. The fear, the shame. It's the voices telling her she didn't belong in the light. And then, the worst part, Alex Brayton claimed he had uncovered private photos of Emily from the hospital, ones taken without her consent, and he threatened to release them. The world stopped. Lawyers got involved. Her mother wept. Porters circled like vultures. Emily locked herself in her room again, shades drawn, his phone turned off. It felt like the fire all over again, except this time, it wasn't her skin that burned. It was her spirit. Keanu stayed outside her door for hours. When she finally opened it, her face was pale. Her voice was small. "I can't do this anymore." He nodded slowly, then asked one question. "What would you say to a girl in your shoes? If it was someone else hiding right now?" She didn't answer, so he did. "You'd tell her to stand, to speak, to remember who she is, because she survived something most people can't even imagine. No one has the right to take that from her." The next morning, Emily called a press conference. She stood alone on that stage. No makeup, no lights, just her and a microphone. "Someone wants to shame me with pictures of my worst moments," she said, "but I am not ashamed." She paused. "Those images show the day I didn't die. They show the beginning of a very long, very painful road, but a road I walked every single day. So if you want to share them, go ahead. I'm not hiding anymore." The room fell silent. She looked straight into the camera. "And if anyone else has ever felt ugly or broken or afraid to be seen, look at me now. I'm still here. So are you." The photos were never released. Brayton was flooded with backlash. His sponsors pulled out, and Emily's video from that day reached over 10 million views in 2 days. But it wasn't. It's the numbers that mattered. It was the letters handwritten from burn survivors, from cancer patients, from bullied kids, from veterans. One simply read, "You gave me my face back." Emily cried when she read it. "Why does it still hurt?" Jay asked Keanu that night. "We're back at the library. Quiet, safe." He closed the book in his hands. "Because healing isn't forgetting," he said. "It's learning to carry the pain without letting it crush you." She nodded slowly. Outside, someone knocked on the glass. It was a teenage girl, maybe 16, her hand wrapped in a bandage. She held up a sign. "Can I come in?" Emily stood, walked to the door, and opened it wide. Her face in the lithe girl who knocked on the library door that night was named Ruby. She had tried to take her own life. 2 months earlier, after classmates posted edited photos of her scars online, she hadn't spoken to anyone since. When she watched Emily's video, the one where she stood in front of the world and refused to hide something, inside Ruby cracked open. Now she stood quietly by the gallery wall, fingers tracing the words painted there. "My face is not your story to tell." Emily watched her with a full heart. "I didn't know people like you existed," Ruby whispered. Emily knelt beside her. "We do. We just spend a lot of time in hiding." Ruby nodded. "I don't want to hide anymore." Emily smiled. "Then you won't have to." From that day on, Ruby came to the gallery almost every afternoon, sometimes just to sit, sometimes to talk, other times to cry. She kept coming. She wasn't alone. Within weeks, more young people started showing up, some with scars, with secrets, all with pain they'd buried deep. The gallery became a quiet shelter for anyone who felt unseen. And Emily. She became the heart of it. She gave talks. She led writing workshops. She helped others tell their own stories. People listened not because she was perfect, but because she was real. The girl who once couldn't meet her own reflection was now standing in front of crowds, telling strangers that they were enough. But life still had one more twist to offer. One afternoon, while going through old boxes at home, Emily found a letter tucked deep inside a drawer. The handwriting stopped her heart. It was from her father, dated. It's almost 2 years ago. She read it slowly. I didn't leave because of your scars. I left because I didn't know how to be strong enough for you. Every time I looked at you, I saw the pain I couldn't fix. I hated myself for it. Not you. Never you. I hope one day you'll forgive me. And I hope you find someone who sees your fire, not your flames. She sat there. His frozen tears fell not because of hate, because of release. She didn't know where he was, but somehow the letter reached her exactly when she was ready to read it. That evening, she sat with Keanu on the roof of the gallery. My dad wrote to me, she said softly. He looked over, surprised. Recently? No, years ago, but I just found it today. Keanu waited quietly, letting her hold the moment. I think I forgave him before I even read it, she whispered. Keanu nodded. Because you've already healed the part of you that needed his answer. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Do you think the world ever runs out of pain? She asked. No, he said gently. But it never runs out of kindness either. They sat in silence for a long time. Below them, the gallery lights flickered on, glowing warm against the soft night. Soon the building would be expanded. They were adding a second floor with space for therapy, art, and healing. They were calling it the Mirror Room, a space where people could look at themselves and see more than what the world had told them. Ruby had drawn the logo. Emily had written the welcome message. Keanu had donated the funding but refused to put his name on anything. This is her story, he always said. But Emily never let that be the final word. No, she once corrected him during an interview. This is our story, because kindness is never a one-person journey. When the gallery opened the new wing, Emily stood in front of the crowd. She was no longer the quiet girl in the hoodie, wore a deep blue dress, arms bare, hair up, face proud. Her scars still lived on her skin, but they no longer lived in her silence. When I was a child, she began, I used to think beauty was something you had to earn, that it belonged to the perfect. But now I know beauty belongs to the broken, the healing, the ones who show up anyway. And today I stand here for everyone who ever believed they were too damaged to be loved. I stand here for you. The crowd stood and clapped, many wiping their eyes. Keanu watched from the side, his expression quiet, proud. After the ceremony, a young boy approached her. His right hand had skin grafts. He looked up and said, Do you think I'll ever be brave like you? She knelt down. You already are, she said. That night, as the last guest left and the lights dimmed, Emily stood alone for a moment in front of the largest painting in the gallery. It showed a girl standing in front of a cracked mirror, her reflection glowing with golden lines drawn through the scars. A note at the bottom read, This is what healing looks like. Keanu walked up beside her. You okay? He asked softly. She nodded, then turned to him. Thank you for sitting with me that day at the library, she whispered. He smiled. Q for letting me. They walked out into the night, side by side, and for the first time, stars didn't seem far away. They were right there, in her eyes, in her steps, in her story, and the whole world was listening.